Here's a real quick message from my friends at BridgeCom Systems. If you're a ham looking to get into DMR, you need to go check out their plug-and-play package, link in the description. It's a handheld DMR radio and digital hotspot combo that comes pre-programmed with all of your information so that all you have to do to get on the air is just turn it on and press the PTT button. You'll also get access to their beginner to expert courses about your DMR gear through BridgeCom University. Give them a call at 816-532-8451 to talk with their dedicated in-house radio advisors. They are happy to help you out. Thank you, BridgeCom, for supporting this channel. All right, there it is. Hey, guys, happy Sunday. Good evening. Thanks for joining the channel tonight. Ham Radio 2.0, we're going to talk about some new FCC feeds today, which I know everyone's got big questions on their mind about that. So have a pretty cool program lined up for you tonight. Let me give a special shout out to all the folks with green text in the chat. Stephen Needon, Kyle Zaringi. Sorry, Kyle, I don't know how to say your last name. Ed AC3IK is in the chat. Philip W0RHP. James KI5OEB. Andy Callie, of course, Nick Smith. Appreciate you guys being out there. You guys are my channel, my YouTube channel members, and you guys help support the channel. So thank you for being in the chat tonight. A couple of quick things before we get rolling here is I'm going to move back over here. So next weekend, starting Friday. So Thursday, I'm leaving Texas. I'm driving to Springfield, Missouri for the More Expo. MoreExpo.com is that website. I'll put that link in all the links we talk. We're going to talk about several links in the stream tonight, so I'll put the links to everything in the description of the video after we end the live stream tonight. So you guys go check that out if you're watching on Team Replay and whatnot. But the More Expo is taking place in Springfield, Missouri next weekend, Friday and Saturday, and I think part of a day on Sunday morning. It's an overlanding, camping, off-grid type show, van life, RV life type show. Lots of solar and battery stuff going on there. I will be teaching a class about how to get started in amateur radio. I say a class. It's like a 45-minute presentation, kind of like a forum at a ham fest. I'll be giving a presentation about how to get started in amateur radio. There's a couple other guys that are doing ham radio type presentations that day. One day is doing one for kind of like all comms. That's going to include GMRS, CB, and whatnot. This one right here. So there's me right there. I go at Friday at 4:30 p.m. And then basic radio communications, designed to help the beginner choose the right method of communications, covering everything from GPS units to ham radio. Right there on Saturday at 1:30. Then immediately following is amateur radio applications and overlanding. So this is a really cool setup this guy's got here. So looking forward to all that. I will be visiting with those guys, walking around the show with the camera, and attending that show next weekend. If you're in the area, please stop by. It should be a fun show to attend and get interested in amateur radio. The following week, is it the following week? I think it's the following weekend. The weekend of Easter. Yeah, it's the following weekend. Weekend of Easter. Saturday of Easter is Support Your Parks weekend for Parks on the Air. I will be welcoming Vance from the Parks in the Air team back onto the lunchtime live stream this coming Wednesday to talk about that weekend. But we are doing another meetup at Ray Roberts State Park on Lake Ray Roberts here in North Texas. Same place we were last time. For those of you who came out last time, this is the Lake Ray Roberts State Park on the Isle du Bois unit. I don't know where that name came from, but that's where it is right there. And this little pavilion right here on the far side is where we will be meeting. It's the same one we were at last time. I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. And we'll be setting up the hex beam. I'll have my FTDX10. I think Mike, K at MRD, is going to be bringing a new radio that he's been borrowing, that he's done some videos with. I don't want to spill the beans on that, but you guys watching his channel, you've probably already seen it because he's put it all over Twitter. So I think he's bringing that radio. We're going to have the hex beam. We're going to have a couple other things set up there, but we're going to do Support Your Parks on the Air, or Support Your Parks weekend for Parks on the Air. Should be a lot of park-to-park contacts like there was last time. That'll be a fun event. More to come on that. Keep watching the email list and my Twitter and Instagram accounts to find out more about that event that will go the Saturday of Easter weekend. Support Your Parks lasts all weekend, but Easter Sunday I'm not going to be out there. It's just going to be the Saturday. I believe that's April 16th. We'll be out there all day. I've got the pavilion rented all day, so you guys are welcome to come out and join us. So those are the upcoming things for this month. Got some other stuff coming up later this month we'll talk about later. So Frank, your lighting is terrible again. So, yeah, you're all dark. You're all dark, man.
You're deflating me. I put up filters so I diffuse the light, and for a while it was super bright, so I put the coffee filters over them because okay, so they're used, they won't catch on fire. Plus they're LED lights, so I don't really have to worry about that. But
well,
I don't know. I tried.
I know. So what's going on? Let me so I just noticed that. I had to point that out. You were a little bit darker than the guys on your stream a minute ago too, but Rhea's just all bright and popping right next to you. So,
I can turn that down if you want to.
No, it's okay. It's all right. That's all right. Yeah, you're good. So
hey, now it's blown out. I canceled it, and it's, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, something to work on. Everything's good. So, hey, thanks for being here, Frank. Appreciate you hopping in after your stream. Rhea, how's it going tonight? How are you?
Well, not a kind of a half and half topic tonight, but I personally, I'm ready for the cold to finish. I'm ready for spring. I'm ready for summer, and I've never done a parks on the air. I think I'm going to do that this spring. Yeah, I've operated in parks. I've just never done as part of POTA.
Oh well, yeah, that's a good time to get started with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. Well, I'll look forward to you. Going to record it?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah. What kind of question is that? Good.
So you've never done a POTA activation?
I have never. I've been a chaser. I've been a hunter. I think I've operated a shotgun with Andrea K2EZ on some of her activations. I've never done it myself. Mm-hmm. No, actually, and she wasn't even doing POTA. She was doing NPOTA, the ARRL one.
Oh, the national parks on the air. Yeah, that was the 2016 event, I believe is what. Yeah.
I'm just going to warn you up front. You do this once, you're going to love it, and you're going to be in a park every weekend, and it's amazing.
It is addicting. It is addicting.
I know. It's something I have to weigh against.
Right. Seahorn, thank you for the super chat tonight. Appreciate you guys being here.
Are you going to say what he said in the super chat?
He says Frank Radio. I'm going to say what Kyle said, and I thought it was just your dark nature is what reason you're dark. So that's all good. So we're going to talk about FCC fees and what's upcoming. For those who don't know, in about 16 days, the FCC is implementing fees for both amateur radio and GMRS licensing. Now, Rhea, there was when they announced this has been, I got some hate. I got some hate comments on the video I put up last week about, we just did a really quick, hey, what are these FRS radios that are inside of an academy? And I don't know what in the world that has to do with the FCC fees, but that's what people wanted to talk about in the comments. And they're like, well, you guys have been saying this for a year. When's it going to happen? Like I have some control over it or something. So the FCC announced this. In fact, I've got this right here. Let me switch over right here. I put this video up in January of 2021. So it was like, 15 months ago, something like that. FCC sets amateur license fee at $35. But they suggested it would be that summer, I think. But they never really said at first what it would be, what the date would be. And they didn't really ever say that until just recently. So I guess it was, a week or two ago that they finally announced what in the world the fee was when the fees were going to actually start and take place and what they were going to entail. At first, they wanted to do a $50 fee. When this was brand new, they wanted to do a $50 fee for new technician license. And there was some discrepancy back and forth about whether that would include upgrades for general and extra or vanity calls or change of address and whatnot. But then they said that is not going to be $50 and it was going to be $35. And then I watched your video last week, Rhea, about the upgrade thing. So I'm going to let you talk about that here in a second. But what's the latest thing? You've got an inside track to the ARRL. Okay, and we're mostly going to talk about ham radio stuff tonight, but a lot of this does include GMRS license, which is currently $70 for 10 years, and that's going to be dropping to $35 for 10 years, right about the same time. So, Rhea, what's your take on this whole thing? Just give us your kind of inside scoop on it.
Yeah, so if I'm talking about the GMRS fees, I have to put on the dim lights and cue the Not a Rubicon music and stuff.
Yeah,
and talk about sad hams and
right.
all the comments we're going to monitor. Anyway, so
right.
As everybody knows, these fees are part of the Ray Baums Act, and the ARRL did manage to get us exempted from spectrum fees. Somehow application fees, we didn't get exempted from that, and I don't have the history of that to say exactly what happened. I have a feeling somebody looked in a word processor and they didn't search and find everything. But
okay, yeah,
I wish I was kidding, but
no, I think you're not kidding. That's why I'm laughing at it.
Well, so we're stuck with fees. Initially they were set at $50, which was an arbitrary number by the FCC. Then we and others, complained about it. And then, they said, okay, it's 35. Now in the back of my mind, I'm probably thinking, well, they probably had 35 in their mind, but, they said, let's dangle 50 and get them to negotiate down to 35.
Right.
But, so that they announced this back then. And then, of course, with everything, there's technology. Okay. So they had to basically now adjust the FCC systems to actually get the mechanism for fee collection. And that took a while, right? So there are other bureaus within the FCC who were also going to be charged fees. They're going to be charged a lot more, like the Media Bureau, which handles like TV stations and radio stations. Those got their fees last year. We were the last ones because we had a mechanism, we had a few things specific to us, and then eventually they got the computers fixed, and then it's going to go live on April 19th. So it's $35 for new licenses, right? It is $35 for renewals after your 10-year term. $35 for, and this is the part I hate the most.
Okay. Vanity
call sign applications. This means if you apply for vanity and you do not get the vanity, you will incur that fee.
Really? Okay. See, there's been some I've seen some ambiguous information on that, because some people say, no, that's not happening. They wouldn't do that. So, oh yeah, they're kind of trying to screw the vanity thing up. And like, okay. All right. So if you apply for a vanity license, vanity call sign, and usually when you apply for I've never done a vanity. I don't really have any interest in it. But usually when you apply for vanity, you have to pick 3 or 4, right? You just don't do one, and it's yes or no, right?
You can pick one. I picked one and I got one. But back then I paid $20, but back then it was, if you didn't get it, you don't pay the fee.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So you're going to have to pay a $35 fee even if you don't get it this time.
Right. I really think we need to go back to the FCC and rework that, because I think that that's wrong. I think that, you're paying for nothing. I think you should only pay if it's successful, to be honest.
Yeah. No, that makes sense to me. Yeah. A denied. I mean, if the call sign is not available, then they shouldn't be charging you for it. So
a quick question in the chat here. It says, please explain vanity, the vanity call signs.
So vanity means, so when you get your ham radio license, the FCC gives you a call sign for free, right? And then you can either choose to keep that call sign. You can apply for another call sign of your own choosing that's available, or believe it or not, and that's a vanity, or, it's just like a vanity license plate. Or you can apply for another systematically issued call sign. Like, let's say you got fed up at KC5HWB, but you didn't want to choose, something else. You could just apply for another call sign and say, let's pick the next one coming up.
Yeah.
That will also incur a $35 fee.
Yeah. So Phil Kratz says vanity is anything other than a 2x3. I don't think that's true. You can get a 2x3 vanity. So vanity is just something like a lot of guys get, like Ria's N2RJ. So RJ is her initials.
Right.
A lot of people get their initials. K8 MRD. MRD is Mike's initials. So that's I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I've never had the desire to get my initials in my call sign, but that's what a lot of people do. That's what, and there's, like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't care to do that myself, but yeah, a lot of people will get their initials in a call sign. Some guy I know guys who have a DMR, W5 DMR is a call sign that one of the guys in town here has, and he put that on his DMR repeater. because he's big into DMR, so that kind of stuff. So anything like that's kind of specialized where you get to pick the letters is a vanity call sign. So
yeah, and a lot of contesters choose short call signs, 1x2 and 2x1, and this is going to be problematic for them, for people who want to get one, because those are in such short supply. They get like 1 or 2, and then you get like 50 people applying for it.
I like to add a little bit onto that with the 1x2s or 2x1s. You have to be an extra, even a 2x2, which I was trying to do. You have to be an extra to get a 2x2.
To get a 2x2, you have to be an extra or advanced. To get a 2x1 or a 1x2, you need to be an extra.
Yeah, for technicians or generals, you can apply and get the 2x3s.
Right. Or you can get 1x3.
Right.
A 1x3.
Yeah.
I couldn't think of a good 1x3. Ooh, I like this shot, Jason. There's no you.
I bet you do. I had to scratch my nose. I keep turning myself off because my nose itches tonight. And I hate scratching my nose on camera. So, and there you guys have the inside scoop now.
Well, wait, there is more. So
there is more.
The VEC department clarified. So basically, the FCC had a meeting with all of these VECs, right?
Okay.
They had like a Zoom call, and they kind of like got together and said, well, this is coming down. This is what you got to do. And then Maria Soma from the ARRL, our very hardworking VEC staff, she asked the FCC, well, what about upgrades? Because when you upgrade, you don't really get a new license term, right? You get let's say you have 5 years left on your license, you get an upgrade and you get 5 years, you get to ride out the 5 years remaining years.
Mm-hmm.
The FCC said that is a modification and it will not attract a fee.
Right.
So if you upgrade from, general to extra, or if Tank upgrades from general to extra, or other people upgrade for general to extra, they don't pay a fee.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I do like that. There's no fee for upgrades because this also encourages upgrades.
Right.
Correct. Yes. So my license, and I was confused on that several years back, 7 or 8 years ago, whenever that was. Then I got my general upgrade because I thought, I'll just, get my general upgrade and it'll extend my license for another 10 years. But no, that's not the case. My license will expire in July of 2024. So just a little bit over 2 years from now. And if I get an extra upgrade between now and then, my license will still expire in July of 2024, and I'll have to pay the $35 fee to renew my license at that time. So that's my wife was asking me that earlier today. She's like, "Well, I read your notes. How does that affect us?" And I'm like, "It won't affect us until we have to renew our license at the end of the term." So, good. Okay, good information. Well, okay, so we've got a cool article from the ARRL here that I wanted to share. And if you want,
so this is a whole web portal about everything about the fees, but I'll let you go through it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was going to let you go through it, but FCC released a public notice on March 23rd. This is about 2 weeks ago, stating that the amateur radio application fees, including those associated with Form 605 application fees. What is Form 605?
So the Form 605, whenever you do anything related to amateur radio, you fill out a Form 605. Now it's pretty much you go to a V session and they hand you one and you fill it out, and that's it, really.
Yeah. Okay.
Or
so
if you do it electronically, like you renew a license, it's also Form 605.
Okay. Good. So this would become effective on April 19th. The FCC's authority to impose and collect fees is mandated by Congress. $35 application fee when it becomes effective April 19th will apply to new modification, upgrade and sequential call sign change, renewal, and vanity call sign. The fee will be per application. So that's a little bit misleading, if you ask me.
Yeah,
because it sounds like it's not worded very well.
Right. What I think happened was because the ARRL took down the website for some back end upgrades.
Yeah,
I think that they haven't updated that page.
Okay.
To reflect the latest information. But the other thing is that another good point is that address changes, name changes, updating your telephone number or email address, because the FCC requires email addresses now. It's not going to incur a fee. And changing club station trustees, that's another thing. Like, clubs have elections every year. So you have to update the trustees every so often. That's not going to incur a fee.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Okay. So that needs to be updated there because It is a little bit. I can see why people are confused because there's, and quite frankly, the FCC has changed their mind several times about what they want to do. Right. So it's not really the ARRL's fault or any that Buy Two-Way Radios has a bunch of information. It's not their fault. The FCC hasn't really. It's typical government bureaucracy. They don't know what they're going to do until 2 weeks after they've done it. So, but right now we're looking at just, again, for those who just joined us, we're just looking at brand new licenses, and which is good for 10 years. And at the end of that 10 years, when you renew, you have to pay again, and then for vanities, but not for upgrades. Did I say that correctly, Rhea?
Yeah, not for upgrades, not for address or administrative, things like address, name.
When you move.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Or you want to send your license to PO box,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, James is asking, if I upgrade and ask for a new call sign, not a vanity, will it cost me?
Yes, it'll cost you.
Okay. So the upgrades, yeah. Okay, so yeah, anytime you change your call sign, I guess, whether it's vanity or not. So
because you'll get a new 10-year license term in that case. If you just upgrade and keep your call sign, you will not get a new 10-year license term.
Okay. Good. So
Ham Radio DX, our friend over there in Australia, says he pays $35 a year to renew, plus $200 for the license at the beginning.
Yeah, when this all kind of first was announced, I did a stream with I think we got together. I think we did a YouTubers Bunch stream, or maybe a recording, and Callum and Hayden were both on there, and they were telling us what they paid overseas, and we've had it really good for a long time, and this new fee is still much better than what they pay over there. So
what did Callum tell you pay? Because I just revalidated my UK license today myself.
Oh, okay. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was more than $35. It was even more than $50. I want to say it was like $150.
Is that a year?
No,
I don't think it's a year. I think it's for however long the license term is.
So what happened in the UK? Because I have a license in the UK as well. They have, and I had one in Trinidad and Tobago, but due to the fact that I have to go there to renew it, I haven't renewed it. In the UK, they charge one fee initially for the license, and then they actually, the license is valid for life. All you have to do is go on the online portal every 5 years and revalid, and basically is a check to say, yes, I'm still alive. My license is valid.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But I think they charge, I think it was probably 30 pounds or something, which would be about probably like $40-50 American. In Trinidad and Tobago, it is $100 TT a year at a rate of like 6-7 to 1. So that's about $14-15
per year.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. That's still not, I wouldn't say that's terrible, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Yeah, I still think we got it a lot better than other countries. And, there used to be a time decades ago, I got my first license in 1994, and decades ago, they used to charge for amateur radio licenses, like back in the 60s, I think, or before that, maybe something like that. And then they removed it for, I don't know why. So we've had it for free this whole time. But,
so they had fees for American licenses for a while, I think, but I don't think they were all that much. I know they had fees for vanity, and the FCC removed it and said it was costing them too much money to collect it, so they just scrapped it.
Oh, well, okay, well, there you go. Maybe they'll come to that same conclusion here in another year or two with these. Who knows?
A couple guys here in the chat says they cost them $33 to $35 to renew their Japanese call sign.
Oh, yeah. Jim Fielder is in there saying he's got a Japanese call sign. Huh. Well, for the longest time, I wanted to do the Costa Rican call sign. Apparently, they don't really let you do that. I met an expat living down there on our last trip, and he's been there for like 20 or 30 years, I think, a long time. And he's like, no, I just use Tango India 7-stroke in my American calls. He's like, it's next to impossible to get a Costa Rican call sign down here. And I'm like, man, I was really wanting to get a Costa Rican call sign, but I don't know. Mexico's kind of the same way right now. It's really hard to get a Mexican call sign. But Bob, since he's moved to Cozumel, and once he establishes residency down there for like a certain period of time, I think it's a year, he'll be able to get some sort of Mexican call sign down there. So I'm like, we should do that.
Yeah, it's really tough in Mexico because they have a new authority. Like, all these other countries are doing like reform of their telecom systems, government administration, and they have a new one. It used to be Cofetel, and I think they call it something else now. They kind of just scrapped all the ham licenses and put them in limbo for so long, so people, even the locals, couldn't get a license. Yeah,
I think they did that in Costa Rica for a while too, but I think that was let up on, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So did we talk about GMRS? So GMRS, no.
Yeah, and I have
go ahead.
The biggest video on my channel is one about why I got a GMRS license, but I paid $70. It's now $30. It's going to be $35 on April 19th. So and the good thing about a GMRS license is if you just want basic, even if you're ham, right? If all you want is basic comms, with your family, right? Or you're overlanding friends, or, and you're going, out in the middle of BLM land or something, or camping, or, and I think even Disney World, they will not allow ham radios, but they'll allow you to carry FRS and GMRS radios.
Wait,
apparently.
Are you serious? Why?
Yeah.
Disney World, they have a Yaesu system fusion and a DMR repeater.
Yeah, I was about to say
Disney World.
There's
I don't know why.
That's weird if that's true.
I could be wrong, but
Okay.
but yes, but the GMRS license covers your entire family, and not just your immediate family, right? Like it'll cover your siblings and your niece and nephews, so you could carry the whole pack out for a day, in the woods. And like if I go and visit my brother in Connecticut, I will carry some GMRS radios and we go out in the wilds of somewhere,
Yeah, and that's what I was, we have a local GMRS a couple years. I got to laugh at Rob Cates here. If you're here illegally, do you still have to pay a fee? I was laughing at that, Frank. You didn't have to delete it. But
you want to know something?
I was trying to be unpolitical here.
I got a kick out of that. I thought it was
Rob.
Funny.
I'm sorry.
Let me tell you a story about that. Okay, when I first came to the USA, because I'm obviously an immigrant. Well, not obviously, but I mentioned many times that I was not born in this country. I'm an immigrant, right? I'm now a citizen. Back in 2001, I came and I went to a VE session, and I fill out that form 605, and the form 605 had a space for taxpayer ID number. And then I said, what do I put in there? And the guy said, oh, put your social. I'm like, I just got here. They didn't give me a social yet.
I don't have a social. Yeah.
And they said, well, you can't take the test. I'm like, what do you mean? He said, you can't take the test. I knew that wasn't true. I went and I called ARRL and I raised complete hell, and they were like, we don't know what to do. Even their own VEC manual said you had to say foreign. So the bottom line is, you could be from anywhere in the world, right? As long as you have an American address, right? A postal address in the United States, you can get an American license. So if you come here, unauthorized, illegal, undocumented, whatever, okay, you could get a ham license. And you will still have to pay that $35.
Go into the FCC website and get the FNID. Did I say that right? Number? FRN number. You apply for it. You need a social. You fill out the paperwork there and get that number, and no one cares because that's the new form on there. So you put that number on there. And congratulations. Put me on screen. Where am I, Jason?
Oh, I purposely removed you.
I know that.
Yeah.
And that's awesome that there we are. There you got your citizenship. I'm first generation American here.
Oh, nice. So. That's right. I knew that.
Frank,
go ahead, Rhea.
What I'll tell you is Frank, I kind of lost my train of thought. Sorry. But anyway, what I'm saying is, even if you're undocumented, it's okay. Okay.
Yeah.
You will make yourself known. Okay. But no, I knew actual people who were, they were either like on work visa or they were other things. Or I knew one person who was definitely not legally here, and he got licensed. Foreigners in overseas. Hayden, is not a U.S. resident. He got an American license, so what I was going to tell you is what the FCC did now with that FRN is a very good thing. And because, it kind of like, I was uncomfortable giving complete strangers my social, because I don't know if they're going to photocopy that and apply for credit cards or whatever, but obviously they'll get in serious trouble if they do that. But it's kind of like, if it's securely at the FCC, I don't mind. If it's in somebody else's hands, I kind of a little,
Right. Yeah, so I was talking on this is shortly after I got my first GMRS license, which I've already renewed at one time. So I've had it more than 10 years, but having said that, I think I've talked on it maybe a half dozen times, but I was talking to another guy on GMRS who's actually a ham, and we were talking on the GMRS repeater with our GMRS licenses, and some other guy comes in there. He's like, "Hey, you guys keep talking about ham radio. You're both hams, obviously." He's like, it's not that, and he wasn't being rude or anything. He was just like, "I'm just curious. Why would you want to talk over here if you're hams?" And I'm like, or why would you care about GMRS? And I'm like, man, it's just more frequencies to talk on. I mean, it's just more, the 462 megahertz range, which is where GMRS is not available in ham radio. Ham radio ends at 450. It tops out at 450 megahertz. So it's a whole different new set of frequencies that you can't use in ham radio. So now we have access to it. Why not? We've got 3 or 4 good repeaters around the Dallas-Fort Worth area that work pretty well. And and down in the Houston and Galveston area, they've got several GMRS repeaters down there. So yeah, I'm actually in the process of putting that new Oshang KG1000 into my truck for it's gonna be my mobile GMRS radio. Mm-hmm. But and the overlanding and Jeep crowd, they have kind of seen the light and realized that legally speaking, if you're talking about CB radio to GMRS radio, you're talking about 4 watts on CB and up to 50 watts on GMRS, and they're like, wow, GMRS sure does reach out further. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of what happens when you go from 4 to 50. So, I'm not saying it in a bad way, but, I mean, there's guys out there pumping out a couple thousand watts in their CBs, okay. But you can't just go buy that off the shelf and put it in, and your itty-bitty Jeep with the alternator this big is not going to handle it. So,
and I was about to say, with gas being, well, it came down now. It's like, what, I seen 385 here today. Right.
Okay.
But these guys, if you look, I seen some of these in person. These guys have like big alternators, bigger than the ones I used to see in like car audio shows. And they're pumping out like 20,000-30,000 watts into antennas. And it's like catching fire.
That's right. Yeah. So Wayne, I think somebody else answered that, Wayne, but GMRS is 30. It's after April 9th. It's right now. It's still $70. After April 19th, it will be $35 one-time fee for 10 years. So let's fill out the form and
fill out. Sorry. So let's talk about how you pay this fee. Okay. Yeah. So after you do so first of all, for renewals and vanity calls, you're going to pay it right on the website, just like you do with a GMRS license now, right? In the FCC portal.
Okay.
But if you take an exam at a VE session, and by the way, that fee you pay the ARRL is not going to change, right? ARRL and GLARG and a few others collect like $10 to $15 of a fee.
Right.
Laurel collects nothing, so they're not going to collect anything.
Correct.
Once you get that, the FCC, when they process your application, they're going to send you an email saying, click this link to pay your fee. You have to pay it within 10 days. Otherwise your application gets dismissed. I don't think there's any appeal to that, but there's a post I made on my community page about payment methods, right? So you can either pay directly from a credit card, right? You can pay from a debit card, that's Visa, MasterCard, or Discover American Express if they have those, even like a gift card.
Okay.
You cannot pay with just a plain ATM card that doesn't have that Visa, MasterCard logo, because some of those still do exist, right? Like my credit union gave me one.
Yeah.
As a backup card. You can pay from a bank account, right? Mm-hmm. You can't pay with a paper check. I thought, because for some applications, they used to send it to a bank, and then the bank would send you a letter and say, send your check to this address. No, they want it electronic. So you have to do an e-check. If you can't do that, you could do a wire transfer, right? Okay. But that's going to cost you some money, because banks charge I did a wire transfer to Australia and it cost me, I think, over $100,
Oh, huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, I shipped a package to Hayden to Australia and it cost over $400. So, yeah, Australia is expensive.
$400.
Yeah, it was like a 6 or 8 pound package, and I shipped it to Hayden. It had a bunch of stuff in it, and I told him what it cost. He's like, "Dude, I'll pay you for half of that." I was like, "No, you don't have to. It's all right." But he did. He was cool about it. So
yeah, I paid I was buying an amplifier from an Australian ham radio dealer to get around some of the U.S. regulations, right?
Oh,
Which
yeah.
It was legal, but you know, so basically it has to do with the solid state amplifiers and the fact that FCC Part 97 regulations say that how you have to drive them with 50 watts, right?
Yes,
minimum.
Yes.
15 dB gain rule. The one sold overseas or not. So I bought one from an Australian dealer, and I could have drove that thing with 8 to 10 watts and get full legal limit. So I was happy as a clam.
Yes.
And so
don't blame you.
Yeah. So
this is the ULS I have up right here, the license manager for FCC. When you look up your own FRN number, which is what I did just now, you find KC5HWB. That's my ham. My first GMRS license was WQVA364, and I let it expire. And I said this in a previous video, and I'm going to say this again. This is why we have the ARRL, because ARRL is our advocates for our spectrum and among other things. When my GMRS license expired, they did not contact me. They didn't send me a mail. They didn't send me an email. They didn't nothing. It just expired, and I didn't figure it out until I was looking at something one time, and I'm like, wait a minute. I logged into my ULS to look at something. I think I was changing my address. I can't remember. Or maybe I was looking up my FRN number. But I saw that it was expired. I'm like, when did that? And it expired like a year later. So I went back and tried to renew it. And they're like, well, it's going to cost like a $200 fee to renew my license. And I'm like, why is it so much? So, and I posted on some forum somewhere, and somebody said, just sign up again. They'll give you a new call sign, but just sign up again. And it was $70 again. That's why I have 2 GMRS licenses. One is expired, and my current one is WRFK311. But you know, again, ARRL, they send you an email, they send you a mail, they say, hey, your license is about to expire. You got a grace period, but you need to get it done. You know, nobody did that for me in the GMRS world.
I kind of wish that the FCC would send an email, but the ARRL you can opt into a license expiry email. And if you want them to renew your license, they can't collect the payment fee. But what they can do is you can just email the VEC department or call the VEC department and say, I would like to renew my ham radio license. This is my call sign. As long as you're a member, they will do it for free. Right. If you're not a member, they'll charge you, I think, like $8 or something. But, you know, if you're like, you know, some people don't want to navigate the FCC site and stuff like that. So if you're a member, just take advantage of that. And what they will do is the FCC will then send you a link to pay the fee, you know?
Right. Yeah.
I want to bring this note up.
Go ahead.
The Noel back channeled me and said the W5HRC club is still doing testing all the way to June 9th, and a lot of other clubs are doing that too. So if you get your license before then, you don't have to pay that fee. It's only after April 19th when these fees kick in.
Correct.
So if you're ready to test, do that test.
Do it now. Did he share a link to that? Because
no link. You just
okay. W5HRC.org is the Hearst Amateur Radio Club website. They are the website who allowed me to record all the technician and general class. Well, not all the technician classes and one of the general classes that are on my channel. I have a second general class and the extra class from the North Virgin Hills Club, who is just a couple miles over from Hearst. But Hearst does twice a month, I think, every other Thursday. They do online testing, so you can get online testing that way. And I always tell people to go to hamstudy.org/sessions. You can find tests everywhere, near you, not near you, and virtual tests. So you can find an in-person test near you if one exists. You can find an in-person test within driving distance if one exists. And if you can't find any of that, they have virtual tests listed by date, and it tells you if they're full, how many slots they have open, blah, 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 who the VEC team is that's doing the test. But hamstudy.org/sessions will get you all that. And yes, if you will go take your test between now and April 19th, you got 16 days. You do not have to pay anything. So hopefully we'll see an influx of new ham radio operators in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, and if your license is up for renewal within 90 days, do it now. You know?
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Not, you'll get a 10-year reprieve. If you've been thinking about applying for a vanity and you see one that's available, do it now, and you will get you'll get a full 10-year license term.
Yes, very true.
So what's the window? Is it a year within your expiration date? You can apply
90 days.
Only 90 days.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought there was a little longer renewal window. I know you have.
It's 90 days prior to the expiration.
Prior to the expiration, but once it expires, it can no longer transmit. But you have a 2-year window to renew and still get your call sign back. And after that 2-year window, you have to go through and retake the tests and start again. No.
After that, you have to take technician, and you will get back your old license. So if I let my license lapse, right, for some reason, maybe I went crazy or something, and I just spent 5 years in the wilderness, and I came back to civilization and found I want to get back my ham radio license. I'm like, what do? I go and I take a tech test. Okay. I won't get back my call sign, but I will be restored to extra,
Interesting.
Yeah. That is something that the ARRL lobbied for, because it felt that, and Dave Sumner wrote a nice editorial about it. I'm going to talk about that sometime, where it brings people back into ham radio, right? And the reason they give the technician test is because the technician test is mostly the basic rules. So, you familiarize people with some of the new rules that we have, rather than all that electronic stuff and the general and extra, right?
Right.
And, you bring them in, and they'll come back, and maybe they'll enjoy ham radio, and we'll have we'll have more operators to do emergency communications and all sorts of stuff,
Okay.
Is that a new role that they just did, or?
No, that was like maybe I want to say 10 years now.
Okay.
10 years ago. Okay.
All right. That's
Good.
pretty cool. A question from Rob. Now, this is from a while ago. I had this stored off. Do we know what the license or the fees are going to be used for, or where the money's going, or it's just going to the FCC?
Unfortunately, a lot of people have this notion that it's going to go toward enforcement. They're going to hire, and they're going to bring a new sheriff in town.
But that's what we hope, because
they're just going to take that money and use it for their administrative costs.
I'll say it. They're going to take the money and run. You don't have to say it. We all know where you're going for. But I would hope we get a little bit of more enforcement, because we're paying for now these privileges that could help better protect from our bad actors in our bands, but help us fight RF and I forgot the Q code.
RFI and QRM.
Yeah, RFI and QRM in the bands, that we can find these bad devices and hold some of these manufacturers more accountable, so we can have a better noise floor to enjoy this hobby more.
So let me tell you,
it seems on that tail. Hold on, Rhea, I'll let you talk. On that tail, it seems to me like if they would just go police the 80-meter band, they could write enough fines to not even do this fee thing. And, they could just fine everybody on 80 meters $10,000 for what they do on 80 meters. And it seems to me like that'd be a more more profitable enterprise.
How about devices? Rhea, please come in.
No. But I'm not mad at you. I'm just thinking 80 meters. You really want to tangle with these people? You deal with somebody like Billy Crowell, okay? You know what his call sign is? WB6 World's Biggest Jammer. WB6 WBJ.
Yeah.
Okay. He used to go on.
Yeah. Go ahead.
He used to go on nets, and like the WARFA net, World Amateur Radio Friendship Association, they call it. And he used to QRM them to Kingdom Come. And then he used to fight with. He's a lawyer. So he used to fight with the FCC and tell them how they're violating his constitutional rights, and he tied him up in court for so long. Eventually, the FCC did a red light review and just pulled his license. You know, but it took them 10 years and change, I think, to deal with him.
Typical government moving at the speed of government, as they call that, right? So
what I could tell you about devices is that the AWR lab is doing a lot of work in industry to get compliance with these devices. But we do need some stronger FCC rules, particularly with regard to like solar panels, because there's no real limits for emissions, right? Radiation emissions from like solar panels and stuff on HF. It's only for conducted. So we need to strengthen the FCC regulations, and I'm hoping we could probably push something in that direction. The FCC, they've sat on a lot of things.
But there's some rules already for bad devices out there that they're not really going after, that are everywhere.
Yeah, but they're weak. And you know what the other thing is, Frank, is that the FCC has been sitting on a lot of our petitions, and from ham radio for almost 10 years now. We want to get them moving again. But what I'll say though is that in regard to the solar and stuff like that, I think that should be a priority, because that's going up everywhere.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I would agree with that too, because there's some bad solar devices out there that will really put some bad QRM out there.
Yeah,
it's true. And with solar's getting bigger all over the world, but especially in ham radio. So with as much as hams are starting to use, and solar's a big thing. If you're going to go out and do POTA and SOTA, you're going to most likely use solar at some point in time. So that would make sense to me, to do a little bit more stringent regulation around that.
Well, internationally, there was recently a Dutch court actually fined they fined SolarEdge, right? For a system that was so bad it was actually interfering with some government systems, and that got them to pay attention. Okay. And it went through the Dutch court, and they just they got fined. So
well, I guess that's a step in the right direction. I'm not big on government overreach, but there needs to be there's a set of rules that need to be adhered to.
Well, is it overreach, or is it enforcing what they should be doing already? Because
and that's the question.
There should be enforcing your device is putting out spurious emissions that is interfering with the primary user of this frequency. You need to cease and desist and stop now, because that's written in our license. If we go out of band or anything that monkeys with another frequency, we need it. And once we are notified, or we should cease and desist and correct the problem. And it should be the same way for any other electronic devices.
Well, let me tell you this about the power companies. All that power line noise you hear is actually power being wasted. So it's in their interest to fix.
True. Very true. So Wayne Johnson says panels don't make noise, charge controllers do. I don't think that's correct. I think panels inverters. Yeah. Well, he said charge controllers. But I don't think that's correct. I think panels can actually make noise also. Now, but let me tell you a small story here. I had two solar charge controllers at Field Day about a year ago. One of them was the Buddy Pole Power Mini, and one of them was another one that I'm not going to name. And both of them worked great. No RFI, no noise, whatever, until you plugged in USB. I plugged in my phone to the first one, and it brought up my S noise by like 2 decibels, two S units. Went from like an S3 or 4 to like an S6. And so I unplugged it and plugged it into the Buddy Pole Power Mini, and it affected nothing. So the Buddy Pole Power Mini has very good RFI reduction or protection against it. So if you guys are looking for a very lightweight, portable, non-NPPT controller, so it's not that expensive, the Buddy Pole Power Mini is the one that I recommend to people. And that's a true story. They're not paying me to say that. I'm just, Buddy Pole Power Mini is a really good device, and go check reviews on it. KM4ACK did a really good review on it. I think Mike K at MRD has got one that I don't remember if he's reviewed it yet or not, but they're really good devices. But when we were at Monsanto last year for the Huntsville Ham Fest, we had some RFI, and people were saying, "Hey, Jason, do you have solar panels on top of your trailer?" And I said, "No, I don't." But I got the impression that people with solar panels on top of their trailer experienced RFI if you're trying to set up an HF station near it. So,
was the interference from the HF station to the solar, or was the solar to the HF?
solar to the HF.
Okay, it sounded
so it was creating RFI on the HF bands, but that could have been the inverter or charge controller that you were using. I mean, they all have potential to make RFI.
Yeah, there are some.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. It's just what?
No, go ahead. I just said there's some potential to make RFI.
Yeah, there's some problems. So I could tell you solar panels probably don't create interference unless they're arcing, and in that case, they'll probably catch on fire.
Okay, that's good to know.
But solar panels are DC devices, but it's what you have attached to a solar panel. So you have the biggest ones are inverters, right? Because for house power, you need to convert that DC to AC.
Right.
Then you have the charge controllers. Some of them, like the old PWM charge controllers, they switch rapidly on and off, and they have a high switching frequency, so they would cause interference. Mm-hmm. The new MPPT controllers are sophisticated DC to DC controllers. Mm-hmm. They produce interference, so they are a thing, and they're actually incorporated into a lot of solar inverters now. Other devices that are particularly problematic, and I was working on a case with the lab in New York, with the AWR lab for a ham in New York. Mm-hmm. There are companies that make optimizers, right? So solar power, as I was explaining the other day, solar power, when a panel is partially shaded, it tends to bring down the whole string because that panel's not producing energy and the others are pushing energy through it. And, it's kind of like a roadblock at that point. Mm-hmm. What the optimizers do is the optimizers boost the power, remaining it extracts the most from the panel, boosts it so that the string could encounter a little less resistance going down the line. Mm-hmm. But these things are high frequency switching power supplies, DC to DC converters, and they're not well filtered, some of them. And then you have these long wires, in the string that act like antennas, right? There is actually a very interesting QST article showing how to get rid of them. And it's actually hosted on the ferrite site. You put some ferrites and you twist the wiring, and you could get it down to a manageable level. But that's some of the pain points where it is.
Interesting. Okay. Have you messed around with different brands of MPPT controllers to kind of test out which ones do and don't produce more or less RFI? What's been your findings on the best ones so far?
So the best ones, I think the Genasun ones are nice.
That's what I was wondering. Yeah. I just got a couple of those in. I haven't tested them yet. I just got them in to do some testing, but from what I'm told, they produce very little, if any, RFI at all. So I'm happy to hear you say that.
The Victron ones are nice too. The high-end Victron ones are good. Victron's top shelf. I mean,
Victron, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Victron, they're pretty good too, I would say.
You ever had any experience with Renogy?
Yeah, I don't have a lot. I have some Renogy portable solar panels. Their inverters and stuff, I wasn't too impressed. Okay. I think some of their stuff is kind of, it's really not top shelf. Okay. Is a nice way to put it,
Okay. That's fair. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They have a lot of marketing hype.
Yeah. Well, I got one of their 100 amp hour lithium iron phosphate batteries with built-in Bluetooth, so you can monitor the battery from your phone with the app. Mm-hmm. And I haven't noticed any RFI on that. I run a couple of HF stations with it, and it's been fine. But in fact, we used it at Winter Field Day in January. But I've got one of their inverters also, but I haven't plugged it up yet. So now I'm scared too.
So Nick Weldon, who just left you a super chat, he said basically some panels have built-in inverters. That's true. Mm-hmm. They have what you call micro inverters, and they're made by like a company called Enphase, right? So Enphase, I think, has a patent on some of them. But what they do is they incorporate an inverter right at the panel itself, right? So, it basically takes that DC right off the panel, converts it, and then it's good because you have a string of AC, but some of them can cause interference, but that one's AC. So it's kind of like, it's a little different beast to deal with, rather than having a long DC wire with an MPPT controller spewing out RF all over the place.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like, Rhea, we need to bring you back on and do a whole stream about solar, because I know you've been talking a lot about that lately on your channel. In fact, that's a good question. Are you planning on streaming tonight in 30 minutes?
Yeah. So tonight I'm going to talk about some basic HF operation. Like as we end the winter season, and cycle 25 is ramping up. I want to tell people about band plans and such like that, and how to make the most of some of the conditions we're seeing. And then next week I'm going to be talking about sporadic E-season. So because that's coming up. That's opening up real soon. But tonight I'm talking about HF.
Tonight you're talking about HF. Okay. All right. And Frank just shared the stream link to your stream time. So good.
Co-hosted. Check.
Good deal. So, before we're almost at the top of the hour, guys, but I don't have a solid hard stop at 8 o'clock. So if you guys have any questions that we haven't addressed yet, type the word question into the chat and my filter will highlight it for me, be able to see it a little bit easier. But bottom line, for those of you who just joined us, is that the FCC is going to start imposing fees on amateur radio licenses for new licenses and renewals and vanities starting April 19th in about 16 days. If you want to test between now and then, you can avoid it. They're not going to charge for upgrades. So if you want to get a technician, wait a few months, get your general, you don't have to pay again to get your general. Get your extra, you don't have to pay again to get your extra. You don't have to pay again until 10 years later when your actual license expires. So, and GMRS licenses, which are $70 for 10 years today, will drop to $35 for 10 years on the same date on April 16th. April 19th, 16 days from now. So if you want to get into, I have a lot of people coming by my GMRS videos saying, I'm waiting for it to drop, Well, get ready. Wait a couple of weeks. It's going to drop to $35. I suspect we're going to see a lot more GMRS people. That hurts, Don. I heard that hurts. Question, when is Frank hosting again? So Frank hosted for me last week because I was on the road. But
I love it.
David, which battery with Bluetooth app are you talking about? Renogy. Renogy makes a bunch of batteries. I have the 100 amp hour version of their lithium iron phosphate battery with Bluetooth. I'm actually working on a video, so I'll be talking about that on a video soon. I haven't used it extensively near radios, but I have used it on a POTA one time, and I had no RFI interference with it, so I think it's a solid piece of kit. However, it's certainly not the only one out there, and it might not even be the best one out there. So, but it's really cool to have the Bluetooth in there because you can monitor status on the stuff.
There's a few of them I saw on Will Prowse channel that I was trying to see if I could get some and look at them, like the chins and such like that. He did a whole teardown and stuff. It's pretty interesting.
He goes and buys $1,000 battery and then tears it apart on video. I mean, how can you go wrong watching that, right? So he likes, it says those SOK batteries, I think, are the ones that he's always pushing. But
I think there are like five Chinese factories that make these batteries, and they slap like different labels on them.
Different names on them. Yeah, that could be. Yeah. It's I think he's talking about, of course, he likes Battleborn. If you just have a bunch of money laying around that you don't have anything to do with it, go buy a Battleborn battery. You will not regret it. They are the best. However, the thing that Will Prowse doesn't do, I've never seen him do any RFI testing. He's not a ham. Why would he do RFI testing?
No.
So that's what I want to take some of these batteries. Yeah, this one's good. This one's good. I want to go plug them up to an HF radio or a 705 with a wideband receiver and see what kind of RFI these things are producing, if any.
Yeah, I want to do some of that too. Who knows? Maybe I'll share the results and maybe we'll come back on and talk about that. But
be great.
Yeah, I think So all these guys aren't hams. Like Prowse isn't a ham. Will Prowse isn't a ham. Hobotech is not a ham. Hobotech does the whole thing. He plugs into guitar amp and say, "This is good for ham radio." And I'm like, no.
I've never watched Hobotech. I've seen his channel. I'm like, oh, this guy looks interesting. I've just never gone back and watched anything. So
I'm like, no. But
Andy, to answer your question, no, you have to start at the beginning. Take technician, take general, take extra. You can take them all in the same sitting. You can start at the beginning and take all three tests in one sitting and become an extra today after having been nothing yesterday. But you do have to start at the beginning. You can't just skip to extra. Go ahead, Rhea. You were going to say something.
Yeah, no, I did all in one. There's some, I think, Gigaparts sells batteries now too. I'm not, I haven't, I don't know if Mike might have done any reviews on them or other people. I saw some of them at Orlando. Mm-hmm.
I haven't done reviews on them, but I've used them a bunch at POTA and talk about them in my POTA videos, and they're very solid batteries. Of course, Bioenno is probably one of the most well-known names in the amateur radio community, and they produce zero RFI. Their batteries and solar panels, like you said, the panels aren't going to do it anyway. I don't know that they make an inverter. I've never seen it if they do. Yeah. They've got a couple of charge controllers that are fine, I think. But I think the last time I talked to Kevin, I think they're working on some kind of new charge controller. So be interested to see what that is.
I have a couple questions here.
Go ahead, Frank.
Hendricks asks, he's waiting for his vanity call sign now. If I am denied and have to reapply after April 19th, will I have to pay the $35? Thanks for the stream, all 7-3.
Yeah, I'm guessing yes.
Answer is yes.
Yeah.
It'll be a new application.
Right.
Then I want to highlight one Ham Radio DX guy's comment earlier from the stream. He says Frank needs to be on the FCC board after I was ranting and raving.
You want to know something? They have a couple of advisors, and one of them is my friend Michelle Thompson, W5NYP. Sure. Michelle is a very opinionated, and she's a strong woman. Okay, she's very opinionated, but she's very savvy, and she gave a talk about digital and data modes at Orlando at the AWRL National Convention, and she didn't have any slides. She just brought toilet paper.
I got toilet paper at Orlando at the ARRL tracks. The M17 guys gave me toilet paper, which then the hotel manager confiscated.
Yes, that's true.
I don't know what this means by Rob, but maybe y'all can figure it out. If you have a repeater, if you own a repeater, do you have your own back door with no fees? So when you apply for a repeater license or repeater owner, do you still have to pay fees on that? I am assuming that's how I'm going to take it.
Right. So we don't have repeater license here in the States. Right. I believe Hayden says they have that in Australia.
Right.
But
I think that's what he said.
Yeah, we have a lot of repeaters are owned by clubs. And when clubs apply for a license or renew a club license, they have to pay. But as I said earlier, when they change trustees, like, let's say they had, N2RJ as a trustee, and then
that's where I wanted to pivot.
Yeah, I got kicked out the election, and they appointed KG5AHJ as a trustee. To change that with the FCC, they don't need to pay anything.
Okay.
Tank radio all the time.
Administrative fees, yeah. Yeah, one thing I hear from some DMR guys on the other side of the argument from my side of the DMR argument, I'm just going to leave that there, is that we need to get the repeaters we need to get all the DMR repeaters back into the owners of the ham operators. And I'm like, who exactly do you think owns the repeaters in your area now? This is basically what people say when someone puts up a repeater and the end user base says, you should do this and this and this with your repeater, and the repeater owner doesn't want to do it. And I'm like, who do you think owns that repeater? There's a reason there's a call sign on that repeater. And it's because the person who bought it and paid for it put their call sign on it and should be able to do whatever the heck they want to do with their equipment they paid for. So the answer to your problem is buy your own repeater. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. So yeah, the repeater always has the call sign of the owner, the individual owner or the club owner. So yeah, FCC has nothing to do with the repeaters in the USA. ARRL really doesn't have anything to do with the repeaters in the USA either, although you guys can do some mitigation and whatnot. But other than that, it's all just individual.
It's actually ARRL doesn't have anything. The only people that have anything to do with repeaters are the coordinators, and you don't need to coordinate to have a repeater. But if there is interference between a coordinated and non-coordinated, the coordinated one wins.
Right. Correct.
So Don, N5SKT asks, do you have to pay if you're going to apply for a club call sign?
Yes.
So there will be a $35 fee to get, or I'm assuming $35 because $35 seems to be the base rubber stamp fee for anything to do mostly with FCC.
Yep.
Good.
Yeah, you'll have to pay that $35 if it's a club call. If you're getting a club vanity, nobody escapes.
Nobody escapes. It's at least at least it's easy to remember because it's not changed up for everybody.
But you said earlier, transferring the trustee is still free.
Yes.
Okay.
Because that's she said that's considered administrative. So administrative changes of address, change of phone number, email, whatever.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So if you move anywhere, updating your licenses, that's still free.
Right.
Yes.
And if you get a PO box, then that's still free because you're updating your license with that address. Okay. Douglas says Rudy Cups must be a Texas thing.
Yeah, I'm drinking water tonight. I've been trying my best to drink more and more water, and I'm drinking water tonight.
Add a Malta. That's it. It's not alcoholic. It looks like a beer, but it's not.
It does look like. Yeah, it looks like you're chugging.
I'm not going to say the other thing I was drinking on stream. Then we're going to keep this non-alcoholic.
Yeah. No, it's okay. It's all right. It's all right. Yeah, Wayne's on my. He says my repeater has my call on it. I seem to be the only one on it that uses it except Jason. I think Wayne's talking about his All-Star connection. So those of you with All-Star, connect to my hub 43136. I'll be on there tonight, actually. I want to start doing an after. You know how Josh does the after chat on Discord? Yes. I want to start doing an after chat on All-Star.
Okay.
Thinking about doing that. So you guys let me know in the comments what you think about that. I'm not going to do it tonight, but we'll talk about it later. But yeah, that's the thing. Cool. Well, hey, this has been some great information. It's been popular. We've had like 350 people watching for most of the night, so that's a really good number for my channel. So a special thanks to everybody for being here. Those of you who might have not got your questions answered, the chat was rolling by kind of fast there for a while, and I know Frank did a really good job of watching it.
I pulled out all the ones that seemed important and moved the conversation along, and good points. I will say that a number of y'all in the chat do seem to support me for the FCC board or any other position I want to run for, and I say thank you. Let's do this.
Let's appoint Frank to technical writer for the FCC. That'd last about a minute and a half.
I love it. Hey, I'm writing scripts for us. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
that's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah. I speak Farkanese though, so it's all good. So, hey, Rhea, thanks a lot for being on the stream tonight. And I guess you have like Rhea's got another stream that starts in about 20 minutes. So yeah, so you're just extra stream worthy on this one Sunday. So I appreciate you taking the time out to be here.
You know what, I appreciate it, and I'm always glad to share the information. You know, if you guys have any questions, you know where to find me, or you know, I'll watch the comments here too.
Yeah, good. Well, thank you very much for being here, and you guys go check out Frank. Go ahead and share that link again.
Yes.
Frank will I'll be on it at 9:30 Eastern.
Okay.
8:30 Central.
She's gonna start streaming here on her channel in about 20 minutes. So.
I will get that over. Before you let me off, I'm going to pop that. I'm making the Monday Night Ham Radio playlist tonight. So watch for my Twitter stream for that link. And Rhea's chat or stream's coming up. I'm going to post that link here shortly. And I think that's it, other than buy our shirts and stuff over on Jason's Ham Radio, or no, Amateur Radio Grapevines. I'm messing that up. What's the web link?
It's shop.hamradio2.com, which is grapevineamateurradio.com. Same thing. So, but yeah, that's what that is. So, all right. Thank you to everybody in the chat. Thanks for being here. Those of you on Team Replay, do put let us know in the comments if you have any more questions. This is certainly a worthy topic, and we might do another stream on it later on after the fees go into effect to talk about how it's affecting everybody and what to do there. So everyone have a good evening. Do what?
I'll be back.
I'll be back. Rhea will be back. So Rhea will be back on her channel in a bit. So
after I saw you were going to be on here, I was like, man, I should have booked you too to make you do 3 streams in a row.
3 streams in a row. Hey, that would have been good. So, all right, guys. Thank you very much for being here. Everyone have a good evening, 73, and we will catch you next time.